You're listening to Second Cut. This is the weekly podcast from the Film Magazine where we talk about topics in film theory, criticism, history, whatever else. I'm Jacob, and I'm the one who couldn't find 1993 Mario online.
Boo, you failed us.
Should have got it from the Criterion.
Yes.
I'm Sam. I'm the one with Hadouken at the ready.
I'm
Ryu.
I'm Kieran. I'm the one that didn't catch them all. Because there's now like 900 of them. Sod off.
Yeah, and in the first games you have to cheat to get Mew, so it's dumb.
Yeah, you have to use the Mew glitch.
I never got Mew, so I've no idea how you even got it.
You have to manipulate the kind of RNGs and you essentially have to use the fact that Red and Blue were glitchy as hell because they didn't know what they were doing. There's about 6 developers on the game. Doing the coding. There's people doing the marketing and the graphics. There's like 6 coders on the actual thing. So the fact it works at all is a miracle, and most of it doesn't work as it should.
I need to learn how somebody figured out that you need to walk up to that specific gambler, press start, fly. Like, it's the stupidest combination of things.
It's a certain thing where and we will get on to the actual movies and stop wasting everyone's time in a minute. But while it's on it, it's a specific thing that essentially when you go to confront a trainer in the original Red and Blue Pokemon games, it will activate some kind of code. And when you disappear from that map, the code is kind of still active and it relates to a specific Pokemon. And so when you walk in, somewhere else into a new zone, it will automatically activate and battle it'll reactivate almost like the battle code for that original trainer, but replace it with a Pokemon. So there are glitches like before Brock, you can get like a level 100 Gengar kind of thing.
Perfect.
And
that's good for Charmander trainers.
Yeah, it's like depending on the trainer and where you can theoretically get any Pokemon in existence. There's just 1 or 2 spots. There's one on Cerulean Bridge and there's one near Lavender Town as well that you can get a Mew. There is a ROM hack out there. I can't remember which one it is, but they've done a thing where if you go and get Surf and you go and get Strength and you move the truck by the SSN, they've put Mew under there. In the ROM hack. It's like, yes, we finally did it. We did it, Reddit. Anyway, we'll get on to Pokemon properly in a minute.
Yeah, well, we actually have questions that aren't from Sam's dad. So, George, he's going to get us started here, guest of the show. You get carte blanche to adapt any video game into a movie. Which one are you choosing? And that goes along with Liam's what unadapted video game movie. So I guess they are 2 different questions in the sense that you can adapt one that's already made in George's. In Liam's, it's unadapted. So where are we going?
Yeah, I'll kick off. I will suggest one of my favorite video games and one of my favorite filmmakers. So I'm going to say Mass Effects, directed by Denis Villeneuve.
That'd be impressive.
He already does the big space opera stuff. It wouldn't be that much of a stretch. Mass Effect's got these big sci-fi kind of concepts to get stuck into. These big ideas, sci-fi. So I can see that working.
Isn't Mass Effect like an unofficial sequel to Event Horizon? So surely Paul W.S. Anderson should be doing it.
I mean, a lot of it does come down to how they created the technology to go from one side of the galaxy to another. So
I stuck to a couple of franchises with video games back in the day. Pokemon was one, Dragon Quest was one, but I don't know which one you do. I played a couple of the Spyro games and stuff like that. Rayman would be an interesting one. But actually, I reckon you should get somebody to do. I reckon somebody like Scorsese would be good at it and do like a 3-hour biopic of almost like Social Network style for Roller Coaster Tycoon of somebody building the theme park. And the kind of life and death of a theme park kind of like tycoon creator, and then it all going wrong near the end after he's built his empire, almost like a Citizen Kane kind of thing.
Yeah.
But with roller coasters and stuff as well. And somebody like Scorsese, one of the more serious, filmmakers that can do these big 3.5 hour. I reckon like that's what I want. And obviously, Scorsese, you're listening, hit me up. I'll write you the script.
That's fantastic. I mean, look, I'll take both and combine them into one. But it's not going to be a movie. It's going to be like 8 to 10, taking the original 2 Baldur's Gate games and just turning them into an MCU level arc across multiple.
So it'll be like a D&D campaign, but told over several films then.
I guess, yeah. Except there's not going to be like the meta element of somebody playing it. It'll be like the stupid book, which don't read the Baldur's Gate novel. But yeah, seeing the whole Ballspawn saga would be fun. Now, of course, actually what would happen is somebody would make, try and turn Baldur's Gate 2 into a movie, and it would go terribly. So, yeah,
I mean,
don't do that.
It would be bad, but I'd kill for a live-action Yu-Gi-Oh! If only to see, like, Dark Magician, Blue Eyes White Dragon, like, as proper 3GI, like, realistic kind of things. Like, that yeah. I would kill for a Yugi versus Kaiba thing. Not for Yugi versus Kaiba, but just for Blue Eyes versus Dark Magician in real life. Like, that would heal the inner child in me.
Netflix is trying to acquire the rights as we speak, yes. I think.
Well, Takahashi is dead, so his estate are probably like holding on to everything as tight as they can. But it could happen.
Yeah, but kind of an issue I'm sure we'll get into with video game filmmaking is like video games are a lot longer than movies. It's not a 2-hour experience unless you're playing like Vampire Survivors. You're just kind of playing in one sitting or whatever.
Yeah.
Or some of the old like puzzle games from like Game Boy Advance kind of things,
Yeah,
Pong.
I've got a quote here. I've got a quote here from how do you pronounce it? Is it Shigeru Miyamoto?
Shigeru Miyamoto, the guy who created Pokemon,
yeah, the big Nintendo guy, and obviously behind Mario and Zelda as well. But he said that about kind of why kind of video game movies hadn't worked up to press. I mean, this was in 2007. He said, I think part of the problem with translating games to movies is that the structure of what makes a good game is very different from the structure of what makes a good movie. Movies are much more passive medium, where the movie itself is telling a story, and you, the reader, are relaxing and taking that in passively. Obviously, it depends on what movie you're watching.
Yeah,
I suppose, but,
Bandersnatch aside.
Yeah. But he says, whereas video games are a more active medium where you're playing along with the story, and we make that flow entertaining in games by implementing many different elements to keep the player entertained, whereas movies have more complex stories or flows to them, but the elements that attract that flow are limited in number. So there's always this argument about like adapting from one medium to another. It's not a one-to-one. You do need to make some changes or it won't work at all. It's very different kind of restrictions, it's the art form you're given, and you do always need to play to the medium you're working in, play to the strengths of the medium you're working in.
Yeah, and just some styles of writing work in some mediums rather than others. When I was at the conference in London a couple of months ago, there was somebody who was a professor of video game design somewhere. I can't remember who it was. And he'd given himself a task
I thought film studies was a fake degree.
Yeah. To be honest, though, in terms of numbers, video games bring in more money than film, kind of on a global scale. It is like the biggest entertainment industry on the planet. And after about the age of 16, we're supposed to not enjoy them. It's weird.
I mean, Grand Theft Auto 5 is the biggest piece of media in history. There's no competition. There's the amount of money it rakes in and the amount of sales and everything. It's just nothing ever comes close.
What he was doing was seeing if he could translate a kind of M.R. James style story to a short form kind of game. Anyone that's not familiar with M.R. James, the Ghost Story for Christmases essentially are mostly M.R. James adaptations. So old school antiquarian kind of professor character normally digs up or finds something that calls upon some kind of evil spirit and things like that. And he was going, it's quite weird because most of the stories end with like something bad happening to the character in some way, you know, that they tread too far and something evil fate befalls them as the ghost or the monster exacts their revenge. It's like, so if you're making a video game out of this, what kind of ending do you want? Because in order to satisfy James, you essentially have to have your main character not end up well, which is not the kind of ending that you want for a video game. And in those, quite a lot of them are kind of slow builders. But if you take it too long, the player is going to get bored. So he was finding it very difficult and he was having to make kind of concessions to the Jamesian style of storytelling in order to fit a video game kind of interactive storytelling medium. And that sounds a lot like what Sugimori is saying. There's just things that you can do in certain medium that you can't do in others. It's not the same.
Yeah, I mean, we regularly, for some reason on this podcast, Kieran, we both regularly mention him, but one of Dara O'Brien's stand-up sketches talks about it's like no other kind of form of entertainment kind of bars you from progressing further if you're not good enough. It's like a book doesn't slam shut on your hands, you know, if you're not following the plot, you know.
Yeah, you don't get 3 songs into an album and someone turns around and goes, dance, see if you deserve the rest of my album. You dance a little bit. If it's good enough, no, and just turns off. You know, it's a completely different medium.
All along these lines, Liam also asked, do video games work better as a series than films? And I mean, only because you can fit more of the story into it.
Yeah, because like with the big video game franchise, like multiple installments and these massive stories, characters, mythologies, world building, everything like that. It's I suppose like anything, if you're taking such a massive kind of projects, you know, such a massive story to tell, then you have more time to do that and space to do that is preferable. I mean, probably the two of the most successful kind of video game to live action kind of storytelling in recent years are Fallout and The Last of Us. You know, both of them, you know, they went for the TV series option, and that seems to have paid off for them. I'm not sure how well either would have worked if you just confined that to a 2-hour movie.
I was going to say, and I know it's not exactly the same, but because it's going from slightly different starting points, but realistically, the original Pokemon show was roughly based on the first couple of games, although Pokemon Yellow, and it was all made in tandem, but it came from the original Red and Green. And I mean, how many episodes were in the first thing of that, all 20 minutes long? There's got to have been like 60, 70 odd. They were always heading to Vermilion City or Cinnabar Island, it seemed to be. Other places they got to in about 2 episodes. Those 2 places, they got about 15 episodes in worth going to these locations. There's got to be at least 60, 70 odd episodes of going to at least sort of the first kind of major section, which if you add like 20 minutes each, that's what, 20, 25 hours at least. Yeah. Imagine squeezing that into a 2-hour film. It's just not going to happen. You know, there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, like playing any big like RPG game, you know, you're probably looking at 100 hours of gameplay there. Yeah. So again, it's like, what of that would you include in your limited amount of screen time?
Yeah. Well, and a flip side to all of this is turning movies into games where you get like the terrible Harry Potter 7 shooter.
Oh. Yeah, but there were some outliers. There were the few good ones. I seem to remember the Lord of the Rings ones and the Star Wars Revenge of the Sith one.
I will say Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, there are a few outliers there.
And I'm going to defend I got so much out of the original Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Sorcerer's Stone PlayStation 1 game. The graphics were awful, but when it was 2002/3, these were cutting edge and you didn't
but
care.
The gameplay is so bad. Like, it's only good if you're a kid and you like, you know, you really love Harry Potter. But the gameplay is, Harry, you're going to go by yourself, abandoned class, put yourself in danger, just doing stupid, asinine tasks. They're the worst.
You'll find this is just the franchise in any medium, including books. Like,
like it's tough to take the actual plot of something and then turn it into a game. Like, Sam, you mentioned the Revenge of the Sith game. Well, most of that is you're fighting Mace Windu, and now you're killing all the Jedi in the temple, and now you're fighting Obi. Like, it's just kind of, fighting through some set pieces.
And all of these movie times obviously required like cooperation, with the filmmakers as the film have been made, because they tried to release them around the same time, obviously, as the film came out, as a side promotion kind of thing.
Yeah.
But often, but I think you could tell the ones where they hadn't like given them the full scripts, or they hadn't given them quite enough material, because it's like quite often you get like wildly different kind of like endings to video games. Like, I seem to remember for some reason the Revenge of the Sith game, pretty much all of the Jedi die differently to how they die on the screen. Because generally George Lucas just hadn't told them exactly what he's thinking. It's like, well, yeah, they're going to die. I'm not going to tell you how. Do your own thing.
Yeah. Okay. So here's a hot take from Eden. Eden, thank you so much for the question. Am I alone in enjoying the 1993 Super Mario Bros. Film? Is there anybody else out there? I mean, look, I enjoy it. That doesn't make it a good movie, but every time I've seen it, I have a great time.
Yeah,
I have yet to put myself through it, so I can't comment.
I'm on the same page. I find it's bad, but it's in fascinating ways. It's like a puzzle box to solve. It's like I would love just to be. Again, question: where do you if you time travel? I'd want to visit that set and just see what were they thinking.
It's like
you can't say it's not entertaining. It's just it's hypnotic, and it's strange decisions.
It's like they didn't give them the video game. They were like, there is a thing called Mario. They are plumbers. There is a princess. Here's some names of characters. And just sort of vague things that they had to like create their own everything. Like, it's so absurd. Every decision that they made, plus the husband and wife director. It's a good movie when you have a married couple writing the script every day, having little passive aggressive fights. I think they called it the Rainbow or something like that. The amount of rewrites and edits. Okay, we have another question from Joe.
Lots of questions.
He wants us to fan cast a Pokemon movie. I guess we have freedom on how we approach this question.
I was going to say, it might be one that we think of and come back to at the end after we've decided.
I mean, didn't we say that when we reviewed the Pokemon movies? Didn't we say we'd have to come back to it? I don't think we ever did.
Yeah, over a year and a half later, we still haven't actually decided.
Okay. Well, I'll say what I said for that. In that, I think probably the most entertaining way, next installment in the Pokemon universe, rather than doing a Detective Pikachu movie or like a more direct adaptation, I want to see a Team Rocket movie. That'd be the way I'd go.
If I did a sequel to Detective Pikachu or a new live action one, I would do it on the Weather Trio / the Delta episode and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, Groudon, Kyogre, and Rayquaza, purely because you just almost do it a bit like kind of King of the Monsters kind of thing, where you have the big monsters battling and you just hide back Rayquaza for ages and ages and ages, and then you just have like a silhouette appear, and you just make it the most epic kind of terrifying thing in existence. And I just hold it all the way, just like you're going to get Rayquaza, and then just unleash it right at the end, kind of Godzilla style, kaiju style movie out of the Weather Trio. There's your Pokemon cast. I don't know what you do about the actual people.
Well, and I will go for I would just like to see the sort of day-to-day life of a gym leader or Elite Four member. Cast someone like Josh Brolin, make it kind of serious, but Vin Diesel plays all of the Pokemon. Pika.
Wait, are you sure we don't have Dwayne the Brock Johnson? No? Okay.
Oh, God.
And whilst we're very quickly on this, a couple of days ago, the Rachel Lillis, who voiced Misty and Jessie in the original run of Pokemon, died a couple of days ago, so R.I.P. childhoods.
That's a bummer.
Yeah, R.I.P. And I heard a few months back she was trying to get like a GoFundMe going for her cancer treatment, wasn't she? So,
there is a terrifying thing, apparently, that 1/3 of Kickstarter campaigns are for American health bills.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Yeah, yeah. Real quick to, I mean that's really somber.
Bring the
But
mood up.
back to my
Yeah.
my gym leader idea. In some of the later games, they are actually out like doing stuff and not just standing still in a gym.
Yeah.
I think that starts in like Gen 4. So,
I mean, you had Steven wandering around a bit, and Lance wants to try. Well, they're Elite Four, aren't they? That would be interesting as like a Cynthia kind of movie, or Looker,
ooh.
aka David Tennant,
A,
because it's based on David Tennant's Doctor.
a down on their luck former champion addicted to hyper potions, trying to get back. Make it a sports movie.
He might be get slightly aged out of it now, but like younger David Tennant, like when he's first cast
We
as
we
a
could
Doctor
CGI
David
de-age him.
Tennant, yeah, it could be. I think I could see him as James.
Well, Looker
camping it off a
from
bit.
Gen 4 onwards is based on David Tennant's Doctor, so
Yeah,
like it's perfect right there. Like if it's based on him, like just like
yeah.
he's there. There are actual theories that it is the Doctor that's fallen through a crack into an alternate dimension.
Right.
So
That's fun.
I'll take that.
It always comes back to Doctor Who.
Yes, it does.
All right.
As it should.
Well, Sam, you watched my second favorite video game movie.
Yeah.
Tell us about 1994 Street Fighter.
Well, just
Or
before I
don't.
do, I'd just like to do just a quick run through of, and obviously we've killed a lot of time already, but just a quick run through of like the big video game adaptations that we've had up to date. You know, and kind of generally how they
Yeah,
did.
and
stuff
these
like
are
that.
these are
Sure.
direct adaptations, not ones that are
Yes,
video
yeah,
game related,
yeah,
like sort of Ready Player One. Kind of thing.
yeah, and these are all like the big screen ones, well, because there's obviously and generally Hollywood kind of movies as well,
Yeah.
because I'd be here all day if I was going for all the Japanese ones. I mean, one thing to bear in mind. Up till 2019, no video game film, live action or animated, had received a Rotten Tomatoes fresh rating score of over 60%. Whereas since there three films since have done, well, I mean, there might be a couple more.
Only
actually, but yeah,
3. That is insane.
yeah. Detective Pikachu, and what are three they are? Detective Pikachu, The Angry Birds Movie 2, and Sonic the Hedgehog.
People liked the Angry Birds too. Okay.
Apparently so, yeah.
It's more the fact that enough people liked the first one to make the
Yeah.
second one.
Yeah. So I put the first big kind of game to movie adaptation was Super Mario Brothers '93. Kind of standing with a 29% Rotten Tomatoes score and 35 out of 100 on Metacritic.
Here's the thing, that's actually more than I was expecting.
Yeah, and look, yeah, I'm not going to claim it as high art or anything. But I say it is fascinating and it is entertaining. I'd argue it's worth a look just for the experience. So you'll remember it. Put it that way. Year later, you had Street Fighter, which I'll be talking about more in depth in a little while. That's got an 11% Rotten Tomatoes score and 34 out of 100 on Metacritic. Following that, you had Paul W.S. Anderson's first video game adaptation. I mean, he is one of the directors, who's basically made a career out of doing these projects.
Him and Ua Ball, I think.
Yeah. So that was Mortal Kombat 1995, 45% and 60. I remember it being okay. I've not seen it in a long time. It was fine for what it was.
It existed.
Yeah. Then you got bigger stars getting into the games. You had Angelina Jolie and Lara Croft Tomb Raider in 2001. 20% Rotten Tomatoes, 33 Metacritic. I don't remember it being good, but again, I've not seen it in a long time. I thought she was an interesting casting. I mean, I suppose they're going generally physically, but she couldn't do an English accent to save her life.
No, the best thing I remember about that movie is Craig Barry as the butler.
Chris Berry, yes, it was, wasn't he? Yeah,
he's Rimmer.
Yeah. And then you had Paul W.S. Anderson doing another video game adaptation of the first Resident Evil in 2002.
I'm going to very quickly argue for the Resident Evils. The first one is enjoyable, if not amazing. The second one you watch for Nemesis. The other four you watch for Mila Jovovich and Leather. It sounds bad, but that's the only reason to watch it.
Look how hot my wife is franchise.
Yeah.
You know? you know, he's got his niche, you know, and
he works with it and it makes money. Like what can you say?
That's a future topic for the show. Look how hot this director's wife is.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Resident Evil, the film franchise, is it's got next to nothing to do with the games. Really, I mean, the later ones bring in more references to the games and more kind of direct adaptation stuff. But it starts with a very loose kind of the base premise. Then we'll do our own thing. After
apparently the first one was kind of pitched as essentially we'll write just a almost generic zombie thing.
Yeah,
and if you like it enough, we'll add in bits to make it Resident Evil, and if not, we can do it just as a zombie movie on its own with no ties. So essentially, it went down the middle so that you can make it Resident Evil or not, which is why there's a new character and there's not that much brought in.
Then you got a UA Bowl double bill for the next couple of years. So you had House of the Dead, 3% Rotten Tomatoes, 15 out of 100 on Metacritic.
How do they keep making movies after this?
Yeah, and it is dire. I mean, I think I probably rented that from a video shop. I think 2003, and it's just god awful on every level. And then Alone in the Dark 2 years later with a 1% Metacritic and 9 out of 100 on Metacritic. So 1% of Rotten Tomato, 9 out of 100 on Metacritic. So Uwe Boll's got his niche, and he's basically like, what if Paul W.S. Anderson couldn't even point the camera straight? You know, they're doing the same thing, but one of them does passable stuff, and the other is just a hack, essentially. Would be kind about it. Same year, Doom in 2005. So with The Rock, famous for its first-person shooter sequence towards the end. That had an 18% Rotten Tomatoes and 34 Metacritic. I do just want to quick pull out a line from Roger Ebert's review of that, which I think does sum up some of the issues with games to films. The movie has been inspired by the famous video game. No, I haven't played it, and neither will I. But I know how it feels not to play it because I've seen the movie. Doom is like some kid came over and is using your computer and won't let you play. So that is the problem, isn't it? It's like you are missing that kind of participation, kind of that engagement kind of level. You know,
I tell you what, though. Skills. Imagine if you'd seen reaction videos on YouTube. Or live streams, like.
Well, I think that also touches on another issue where, like, some games have the loosest story possible, where it's really just about go kill these people, enjoy shooting things, like Call of Duty. You know, when you're taking some games that have very loose story and trying to turn them into a story-based medium, it's going to be a problem. Yeah.
Following that, it's Silent Hill. It's an adaptation of the famous horror game by the director of Brotherhood of the Wolf, interestingly. That had got 32% and 31. I seem to remember it being all right.
Getting better.
Decent enough kind of horror film, So the scores, apart from Uwe Boll's side, the score is gradually creeping up there.
The critics are getting just desensitized to bad video game movies.
Yeah.
Well, it's just more and more likely that the critics are getting older, and therefore a new generation that grew up with the games are coming to actually.
Then 2007, you had Hitman. Oh dear, the Rotten Tomatoes has stepped back down to 16% again, 35 Metacritic. So it's got a much lower Rotten Tomatoes score, but a slightly higher Metacritic.
We'll get into that.
Yeah. I mean, I know Rotten Tomatoes isn't like an arbiter of good taste or anything, and it's questionable, but just as like a baseline. Max Payne, starring Mark Wahlberg, 2008, 16 and 31. Prince of Persia, 2010, starring Jake Gyllenhaal as a Middle Eastern man, which is all kinds of dodgy.
I was going to say, like 30, 40 years ago, 50. Maybe it's dodgy, but you understand they didn't know it was dodgy then.
Yeah. 2010, we really should be getting past that. Again, I seem to remember it being fine. Nothing to write home about, though. They had Warcraft by Duncan Jones of Moon fame, and he got a lot of goodwill from doing a really interesting kind of debut feature, and then did this really splashy kind of fantasy blockbuster based on the massively multiplayer online series. That's got 28% Rotten Tomatoes and 32 Metascore, which I think is a little bit harsh. I thought it was ambitious. It didn't quite work, but you could go applaud its ambition. You know, it was trying something. It was I don't know. I thought it was interesting. You had Assassin's Creed starring Michael Fassbender a year after that. 18% and 36. It was actually been quite dull and not really. I'm struggling to remember much of it, except that he to go into the simulations, he was in this like big chair on a big arm that kind of moved him around as his character was leaping around in the virtual reality world.
Was there much Assassins and was there much Creed?
They definitely mentioned a Creed at one point, and there are fair few stabbings.
Okay.
God, talk about a tough game to adapt because of the two different stories intertwined.
I know, and I don't think they really did justice to either in that version. Yeah. And we get to 2019, Pokemon Detective Pikachu. And we're really getting up there now, 68% and 53. So so we've broken that barrier. You know, we're very much in the middle of kind of quality wise.
Yeah.
Year after, Sonic the Hedgehog. 2020, 63 and 47. I'm surprised it's as high as it was actually. I mean, I don't think it's not terrible, but just it's kind of background noise. You know, it's probably fine if you got kids, but I found it a little bit irritating. You had another Paul W.S. Anderson with Monster Hunter 2020, 45, 47.
That sounds like the scores.
Yeah, again starring his hot wife.
Yep.
Yeah. The monsters were cool, but I don't remember anything else about it. Just one that people forget about. I'm a really big fan of this. Probably the best on the whole list for me. Werewolves Within from 2021. 86% Rotten Tomatoes, 66 Metacritic. That's by Josh Rubin, who's a really interesting indie horror director who did Scare Me as well. That's good premise because it's like based on like a game where you've got to guess who the killer is essentially.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same premise. Like put some characters in an isolated location. One of them's a werewolf, and it's not who done it, but who is it? Basically, so that's pretty fun. Then it's Uncharted with Tom Holland, which I never saw. Again, very middling reviews, 41 and 45. Five Nights at Freddy's, which I didn't see because I'd already saw the Nicolas Cage version of the same film a few years back. We did Willy's Wonderland, that's 32, 33. And finally this year, we had Borderlands, Eli Roth's Borderlands, which is currently sitting at 9% on Rotten Tomatoes and 27 on
I would
Metacritic.
point out that you missed one from last year.
Go on.
Mario.
Oh, yeah. So I did.
The second highest grossing film of the year.
Yeah. I think I probably didn't include the animations in my list, did I? I just kind of filtered them out. Yeah, but yeah, you're
because you missed both the Angry Birds.
yeah. So Mario did it incredibly, stupidly well, didn't it? And
I haven't seen it.
And by all accounts, satisfied most of the fans out there. You know, kind of got all the references in there. Everyone looks like they should and sound like they should. So, yeah.
But no Dennis Hopper. So I mean, I don't know.
I know. Yeah.
I will say actually, before we move on, if I could adapt anything, I would do it as a series because that's the only way you could do it. But one of my favorite anime series, it was originally a light novel series, and I've got one or two volumes of the manga as well. A series called the English translation is When They Cry, or When the Cicadas Cry, and it's a horror series where it's set in the 1950s, 60s, 80s, past a couple of decades ago. And it's in Japan, and there's a little kind of ceremony they have there to satisfy the local god. And then people start dying with this kind of group of friends. And then once everyone's dead after a couple of episodes, the series resets, and they all die in a different fashion. and then the series resets, and they all die in a different fashion, and then it resets again, and it's a constant, almost like time loop kind of thing, and then it does like behind the scenes stuff. The series is so good, like it is my favorite, and they did like a remake of the series a couple of years ago, and I got halfway through it, and I'm just like, it doesn't capture the just like sheer brutality of the first series. It was so brutal. Like the first thing you see of the entire show is some like two people getting absolutely bludgeoned to death with a baseball bat. It's insane.
Yeah.
It's like people getting their fingernails ripped off and clawing their throats out, but it's all like murder mysteries that just keep resetting. And you'd have to do that as a series, like at least like a 1 hour, like 1 hour 10, 20 kind of like Stranger Things length episode, and you do like 5 or 6 of them as a Netflix limited series, like, and then with the last 1 or 2 give a few sequences of what's happening. It's really good, and I would kill to do it, and because like it's so good, and it's originally a video game, so that's my, if I ever get the chance to, you know, in a far-flung future in another alternate dimension, that's the one I'd do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, on that note, speaking of novel games, I would do that Colonel Sanders gay love visual novel game.
What?
Is this a thing?
It is.
Please tell me they called it The Spices of Life. No. Is his gay lover called Herbs in it? No.
I Love You, Colonel Sanders, a finger-licking good dating sim.
Oh, no. 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 I mean, that's one thing we haven't really seen so far yet. We haven't seen any dating sim movies, have we?
Yeah, that's the Baldur's Gate 3 movie.
Oh God, please no. What? You know what? I'm actually surprised there hasn't been either a Candy Crush or Fruit Ninja movie yet.
Oh, I'm sure they're on the way.
Yeah, because they're just now getting around to the trend from a decade plus ago. Yeah.
The fact, aren't they doing another Angry Birds movie?
Maybe.
I mean, with the critical success of 2, you know? I mean,
here's the thing. When was the last time either of you played Angry Birds? Exactly.
I think I had an iPod Touch.
For about 3 years, it was the only reason anyone bought an Apple product, and then it just died, and nobody's seen it since.
I hate that you have to play Flappy Bird clones now because the game is gone. Ugh.
Yeah.
Sam.
Somebody did Magikarp at one point. Yeah.
Sam, talk about Street Fighter.
Yeah. So going back almost to the beginning of kind of video game movies being a thing. You had Street Fighter in 1994, which was directed by Stephen E. D'Souza, who had some. He was a decent kind of player in Hollywood. I mean, he had involvement, in 48 Hours, Commando. He wrote everything. He wrote a couple of the Die Hard scripts.
He also wrote this screenplay, so it counts as an auteur work.
Yeah. And less said about Judge Dredd with Sly Stallone, the better. So it's a very loose adaptation of the Capcom fighting game series. Essentially, the story, broad strokes, because there isn't much of one, so I'm just going to be very simple. Military dictator General M. Bison wants to take over the world with super soldiers or something, and a team of good guys led by Colonel Gal must stop him. That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
There's lots of, quite appropriate for a video game adaptation, I suppose. There's lots of like quest fulfillment, lots of go to a place, do the thing, and that will let us go to this other place and do this other thing until and then like a boss fight every now and then.
Hey, Sam, who did they cast as Guile?
They cast Jean-Claude Van Damme as the famously American soldier Guile.
And how many splits does he do in this movie?
Oh, at least a couple. I mean, I did notice he won his final boss fight with a roundhouse kick, which was very much a Van Damme kind of thing to do. Yeah, it's just it's the most bizarre cast kind of out there. I mean, you get the highlight, as everyone who's seen this movie, and as a lot of people who haven't seen this movie know, how this movie is the only acting highlight is Raul Julia as Bison.
He is also the lowlight.
he just chews so much scenery and he's enjoying it so much, and he's having so much fun despite dying of cancer at the time. I mean, sorry to put down right again, but they had to
Yeah.
adjust the film schedule and kind of change the order of the scenes and kind of what he could actually do in scenes because he was. Definitely at that point, he was terminal. He only had a few months to live, but because his kids like the games, he signed up and he made the most of it. I think he's such an entertaining presence.
He did arguably.
The start of the credits has for Raoul before the main credits roll as well.
He also arguably died from this movie more than the cancer because his doctors told him not to do it, and then he was getting kicked and punched.
Yeah. I mean, a few of his lines can become memes now. Like his one of his henchmen gives him some key information about the situation. He goes, "Of course." And when he's looking at his the model of his dystopian super city, rule from, it's good. I think the food court should be larger.
And also he's from Bangkok in the games, but they make up Shadaloo as the country.
No, I think Shadaloo is from the game. I think.
Okay.
It's a generic foreign country. It could be anywhere. It could be East Asia. It could be.
They didn't have the rights to Thailand.
Basically, which is a bit weird because this film is so obviously filmed in Thailand. It's like, why couldn't they just say it?
Probably to not insult Thailand and drop the ratings there.
Yeah. And he also, he has great kind of real campy monologue where he's so he's being confronted. So basically, pretty much everyone in this has a personal bone to pick with him, just beyond being a big evil guy, but no more so than Chun-Li, played by Ming-Na Wen. Mulan is what she would go on to do a few years after this. It's funny, I didn't really know her as a live action kind of actor until she was in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and The Mandalorian, but she was in loads of stuff before she did all voiceover stuff, so it's kind of interesting her in this. Anyway, so he's he basically commits a war crime in her village. Essentially, I think he killed all her friends and family, and she wants revenge for it. And he kind of says to her after she's she's got a moment, she's going to kill him, and this her moment of vengeance, and he says, the day Bison graced your village was the most important day of your life, but for me it was Tuesday. So I think he makes the most of. I mean, I think a critic. Which critic was it? It was the. Give me a sec. Where's it gone? Where's my critic quote gone?
The only one we have, because we're pretending to be educated on these subjects.
Yeah, no, hang on.
Live action research.
While Sam looks, Blanca is turned into an evil super soldier with green goo. That is his method of.
Yes.
I will admit, I have never played Street Fighter in my life.
Actually, I mean, if we're being strict, you see the stuff that's being pumped into him, and it says on the bag, "Danger, DNA mutagens. Use extreme caution."
Oh no, DNA.
Yes, it's stuff like that. I just, it's got to be something that's got to be intentional, surely.
The question is, did this actually increase the sales of Street Fighter games? Because something like
that's the important question.
Schumacher's Batman movies are obviously there to sell toys, and this is essentially an advertisement. So did it actually increase them, or did people boycott the series because of how awful the film was?
I mean, look, it's not especially faithful to much of the game stories and stuff, but Capcom were heavily involved. They had script approval and stuff. They were involved in the casting. They wanted Van Damme, for Guile. So
You're also arguably in like that point between home consoles and arcades, and
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
was still playing Street Fighter on arcade
yeah,
consoles in the
yeah,
2000s. Like,
yeah.
I don't know how much it sold like home product, but like
No.
people were out
Yeah,
spending quarters
yeah,
on
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah. I think that's more of a recent thing. I suppose, like, suppose arguably Tekken was probably the fighting game that kind of brought things, brought the fighting game one-on-one fighter into consoles, and then the others kind of followed suit. So Street Fighter was later kind of fit that mold. Kind of almost chased kind of the success of Tekken. And left the arcade machine, to go into the home. I found it away. So it was a Emmanuel Levy from Variety. So, he said the film suffered from the same problems that impaired Super Mario Bros. It's noisy, overblown, effects laden, and lacks sustained action or engaging characters. And he comments on Julia, referring to it as his weakest performance, accentuating each and every syllable as if he was reciting a Shakespearean role of great emotional range.
Oh,
It's too bad, for this is the accomplished actor's first film, and it's dedicated to him. So he kind of acknowledges that what he's doing doesn't really work, but it's kind of, as you can see, an attempt there. That he's trying to make something of it. You know, and by the way, yeah, the director did say did say that at least some of the movie's camp and silliness was intentional. People say it's so dim-witted it's funny, but we knew it was funny. How can you see that movie and think it's funny by accident?
Uh,
Well, so
oh,
it depends on which scene we're talking about, really.
also, I guess that critic, big one from the Heart fan, just
Yeah,
Raul Julia in this doesn't hold a candle.
no. There are some. I mean, the main problem with it is the action is quite sporadic and generally not that well put together. They had a.
That's the problem.
I think. I mean, I think at the very least,
Is a problem.
you go into Midcoast Street Fighter, you want to see some really good fights, and they're okay, I guess, for the time, maybe ish. Possible.
Quite a few of them aren't in streets either.
Yeah.
I think the big problem is you mentioned the schedule changes because of the cancer. Like, they
Yeah.
didn't have time to train to learn how to fake
No.
fight. They could have
Yeah.
just shot Raul Julia's, but no, they were like, we'll do all the fights now.
Yeah. I mean, I do quite like the final act of the film, which is essentially all the fighters pair off, and fight another opponent. And they all basically keeps cutting back between all these different fights between these pairs of fighters.
I forgot Chun-Li's a news reporter in this.
Yeah, which again I don't think's from the game. I can't remember.
I don't think most of this is from the game.
No. I mean,
I think it would have actually been better if when they paired off one against the other, they literally go to the other side of the screen. You see health bars appear.
Yeah,
like it would.
No corner trap.
I think there is one shot where they kind of step aside and the camera pulls out and it looks like they kind of side by side. I think it's before the final battle.
Like that one, but that one shot from the Raid 2 where you've got Iko Uwais against the guy.
How
with the
dare you
blades.
compare this in any way?
No, that is more of a Street Fighter like
fight. Yeah.
Thing
I did have to laugh a lot. There seems like the two big fighters. So there's a sumo wrestler and a generic like big wrestler looking guy, and they basically end up having their fights in the model of like this Bison Super City, and they accompany it with like Godzilla sound.
Yeah.
So just hear Godzilla's roar as they throw each other around. So that kind of made me laugh.
I also forgot they called them the AN instead of the UN because they don't have the rights to the UN, I guess.
But they're still wearing like blue caps, so.
And also they pronounce Ryu's name Ryu.
Yes.
I don't know why they couldn't say it correctly.
No. And Cammy is Australian because she's played by Kylie Minogue. and the reason,
Keely.
And the reason Kylie Minogue is in this is because they filmed quite a bit of it in Australia, and they offered a tax break if they cast a big Australian name in the film.
Look, sometimes you got to do the stuff, you know.
Yeah. So apparently, after Van Damme and Raul were cast as Gal and Bison, they didn't have much money left. So Van Damme's fee alone took nearly $8 million of the film's $35 million budget.
Yep. Sounds about right.
And Van Damme famously during this period had a major drug problem. he was doing $10,000 worth of cocaine a week while filming this. And
that sounds like a drug solution, honestly.
Yeah,
to get through this movie.
He
That probably could have kept Raul Julia going for another couple of years, you know.
Yikes.
yeah. So like his addiction, because you know he was sometimes just not in fit state to film, turned up late, didn't turn up at all. Obviously he had Raul kind of health problems. But that wasn't like the end of the problems for this film. So at one point, a crew member required medical attention when their skin got irritated by contact with water in a Thai river, basically. So they got like a flesh-eating disease from a river. The line producer suffered a heart attack, never returned into production. Another producer, unaccustomed to driving on the other side of the road, turned into oncoming traffic and collided with a bus, sustaining serious injuries. And he never returned. And finally, later in production, an actor, apparently not Van Damme, another actor was busted at Australian customs for possession of steroids.
They were holding for Van Damme. This is mule.
Yeah. So it was one thing after another with this film. You know, lots of kind of disruption and things didn't go according to plan. If there was like a coherent idea for what this film should have been, they probably couldn't kind of stick to it. Amazingly, though, it did do all right at the box office. You know, it's so it was 165 million at the box office. You know, against the 35 million budget. Did okay on home media on VHS as well. But yeah, obviously, it's the critics kind of completely lambasted it, and fans were generally not impressed by how these kind of well-known, well-loved characters kind of appear first time on screen. I mean, apparently in Japan they did an anime Street Fighter movie the same year, which was apparently one of the better video game adaptations out there, but it didn't really cross over here until much later. I think Van Damme ended up voicing Gal again later.
No way.
Animation or in one of the games. I can't remember now.
I thought you were going to say for that anime.
No, imagine that, yeah.
Hey, Sam, can you guess my favorite part of this movie?
The credits.
Is it the boat? Is it the boats thing? The aqua assault on the base.
That is
big, like theme park ride buttons.
The GI Joe stuff. They put GI Joe vehicles in for no reason, but except to sell toys. But no, Sam, that isn't it. Kieran, you were close with credits.
The end.
The after credit scene where M. Bison's hand appears out of the rubble of his base when they knew Raul Julia was dead.
Well, apparently they cut that from the theatrical release, but they put it back in for the home media release.
M. Bison will return.
Are they going to do like Jason X and like, you know, put a new like bionic mask on him kind of thing?
Oh, now I need a movie where Arnold Schwarzenegger is pretending to be American and Van Damme appears out of a portal on your left.
Yeah. I mean,
him and Tommy Wiseau.
I think my favorite joke in the whole film, and it is a joke, it's just a stupid joke, but I liked it. It's when the bad guys are watching like a runaway truck filled with explosives in their base, kind of rolling downhill and heading towards a wall. And as they're watching on the monitor, this big long henchman says, "Quick, change the channel!" Like it's going to stop the truck.
Oh,
look, you know what? It's like the old saying: "How do you stop an elephant from charging at you? You don't." You know.
Yeah.
Footprints of the peanut. Nope. Wrong joke.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, what more can you say about this film? It's not very inspiring. It's not kind of big and dumb enough to be a true like camp classic or anything, and it's not competent or serious enough to be taken as it is. It's that awkward kind of phase in between. They weren't really, I suppose, sure how to adapt these kind of larger than life characters into live action yet, and how video gaming to make it, you know, kind of, or how grounded in reality. So it's this kind of awkward kind of space in between. I mean, you have people I mean, this was originally going to be quite a violent kind of violent fights, blood and everything, and they basically edited around all that. So that might be one of the reasons why the fights are more incoherent than they should be, because they had to cut some more violent shots out.
Street Fighter
But
is made by Takashi Miike. I'd
yeah,
kill for that. Like that would
but
be
but then,
amazing.
as you said, Jacob, it's like then they have these like GI Joe like action figure kind of vehicles and gadgets and stuff, and yeah, and why is oh god, I mean this is another thing, you know, it's got like strange casting and like dodgy kind of kind of well ethnically dodgy kind of casting. So you had the guy playing Rio in this is a Chinese American. Um, the so Raul Julia, as you said, yeah, he's got well, I presume he's playing wherever Raul Julia was from. Which,
Shadowluian Puerto Rican.
yeah, Puerto Rico, yeah. But then you have what's he called now? Wes Stuzzy, you know, famously from Last Mohicans, famously a Native American, as a playing a Thai kind of gun runner, which is just bizarre.
Thai or Shadowluian?
Yeah. Well, if we're saying Shadaloo is standing for Thailand, then
and
know it's...
it is offensive that they cast a Belgian guy as an American. I will not stand for it. This is my culture.
Stolen from everyone else. No.
Yeah. I don't so much mind the portrayal of Honda, the sumo wrestler, as a Hawaiian native, because you know you do get Hawaiian sumo wrestlers. That kind of makes sense. You know, it's a fairly big sport over there. So, but yeah, everything else, I don't know.
Big sport.
To be honest, with most of this film, I think what happened is they came up with an idea. Let's make this guy from a completely different ethnicity that does random stuff. And everyone asked, why would you do that? And they went, why not? And they went, okay, fair enough. Like,
if only they'd cast Brandon Lee here instead of in The Crow. Oh, could have. No.
In the nicest way to Brandon Lee, I think nobody would remember him if he was cast in this instead of The Crow.
No.
Because when you think Brandon Lee, what's the one movie you know him from?
Oh, I think of his dad.
Right. Basically, this just it won't satisfy fans of the game, it won't satisfy fans of the movies. I'll give it props for I found Raul Julia strangely compelling in this. He's at least seems to be having fun for a guy, you know, not long to live, you know. And
I think that's why he's having fun.
Yeah.
Nothing left to lose.
Yeah. No, I mean, the final fight. Again, talk about this weird kind of dissonance between reality and stuff, like not knowing how grounded to make it. So the fights, they're not like shooting like energy blasts at each other. There's none of like the supernatural stuff from like Street Fighter games. No other gaminess. So it's just generally like standard like choreographed kind of stuff. But then you have Bison just whipping out some magnet boots like right at the end, like flying around, you know, and just flying.
They stole that from Mario.
Yeah, it's just yeah. I don't. Am I pleased a fan has seen this after all these years?
No,
it's a curiosity, but it's not one I'm ever probably going to go back to. You know, and I suppose you got to start like this and with films like this and Mario to kind of learn how to do it a bit better as the years go on.
Meanwhile, I've seen this 4 or 5 times.
I'm so sorry for you. Yeah. What made you go back to it after the first?
I think I already owned it.
Yeah. Not enough people knew what they were doing on this, or kind of knew what they were going for, and I'm surprised because Capcom let it out the gates. Anyway,
I think probably your reason to go back to it is you're probably about 9 or 10 and didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Oh, I saw it for the first time as an adult. Let me preface it with that.
In which case, to quote Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because he's an ignorant monkey that doesn't know any better.
Yes. All right. Sam, anything else on Street Fighter?
I'm still not over Kylie Minogue being in a Street Fighter movie. And they put her in this like military uniform, and I think she whips out a bazooka at one point. It's just so strange.
Oh,
I mean, put it
gosh.
this way, I was so hard trying not to watch this film, even though I was watching it, I didn't realize Kylie Minogue was in it. I watched it today.
Yeah.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
please put a bullet in this head.
It's like when Quentin Tarantino said, "I didn't go to film school. I went to film. You went to video games instead of watching the video game movie." All right. Well, I think I'm gonna kick this up a notch. Despite the 16% on Rotten Tomatoes, I watched Hitman. I haven't seen it probably since 2007 or 8. I didn't know who Timothy Oliphant was then. I just thought it was some dude. But I do love the Hitman games. I played them a little bit as a kid, but really I got more into them again when they started the new trilogy. And like the Hitman 3, the full, it comes with every game, like all 3 of the games. Sorry, I should say 1, 2, and 3 of the new trilogy. So like it's the best way to get into them. It's really streamlined. There's a lot of stuff you could do, and basically the premise of Hitman is you are a hitman. You wander around trying to kill very specific targets, and the gameplay really hasn't changed since the first one. There's a couple differences between the first one and second one, so really the gameplay hasn't changed since the second one, other than being like expanded and refined. But yeah, the core thing is you wander around, you change outfits to try and sneak into places, get close to targets, and then kill them in fun ways. Like, yeah, you could just shoot them in the face, or you could poison their food, or you could set up an explosion, or like, there's so many fun, cool ways to do it in these new ones. Sam, do you play Hitman 1, 2, 3?
No, but I've got friends who do, and rate it very, very highly. I mean, I'm aware of like the kind of things about hiding and disguise yourself and stuff. Though you're never really that disguised, so are you? You're always a very quite stern-looking bald man with a tattoo on his head, a barcode on his head, and with a costume around that.
I think I know from PlayStation that Liam plays them. A fun thing about Agent 47, the main character, he is multi-ethnic, created from 5 different fathers, like Colombian, Chinese, German, I forget all of them, but he's this weird multiracial combination that kind of allows him to be anything, I guess. Kieran, have you played any of them? I know you said you only play Pokemon and Dragon Quest.
I have not played Hitman in my life. To be honest, the most advanced console I have that's not handheld, aside from my laptop, is a PS2. I wasn't a massive video gamer in my life.
You can play Hitman 2 games on PS2, or Hitman games. I forget which ones. I think it's like 2 and Blood Money, but I might be wrong.
Again, most of my life was Pokemon or Roller Coaster Tycoon 2, which is still an absolute jam. Like, it's still good.
Yeah.
Well, that and Lego Racers. Lego Racers is class. Okay, like I will have nobody shitting on that movie.
As we go on, Kieran's going to remember more and more games that he plays.
Yes. Oh yes, I played this one game before.
Yeah, but the Hitman games are really fun. But it's one of those kind of like Street Fighter, where like there's a story to it, but really you're there just to kind of go through the levels and have fun killing people. The story's ancillary. It's really only for like the super nerds that really love it.
Because there are multiple different angles to approach the targets, aren't there, and different ways you can achieve your objective. I mean, this was something that I think the first Assassin's Creed was trying to kind of ape a little bit, but Ubisoft got less and less interested in doing that as the series went on. They got more and more interested in making the map bigger and giving you fetch quests and kind of odd jobs that don't really add anything to it. And like, whereas these are always very, very focused on you've got opportunities and different ways to do it, but you always know what you're having to do and you're not killing time.
And like from what I remember of the first Assassin's Creed, I mostly would just jump down onto people and sleeve knife stab them. In the I like the action adventure direction of the new ones, but man, Hitman it's kind of basically its own thing right now. Like, I played Splinter Cell as a kid, but even this is very different from Splinter Cell. Like, there's so much freedom to it, and as far as the story goes, like, the ones in the newest game is Agent 47 works for the International Contracts Association or whatever. It's the ICA. And there's this other organization that's bad. And so you're going around and killing the bad organization people. There's some, like, grand conspiracy thing, obviously, because it's an assassin game. It turns out you've been assassinating for whatever. Sorry, spoilers. It's very vague spoilers, but that's kind of the direction the story goes. They're not groundbreaking. The one for, like, I can't remember if it's Contracts or Blood Money, but, like, there's a frame story where an interviewer sits down and is talking to a guy, and he's like, so there was a time where doodly-doo, and then you play through the mission that he's, like, talking about. And that's the direction I kind of wish that the game had gone. I wish it had gone for that international...
The film had gone.
Yeah, sorry, the film had gone, where there's all these vignettes where they're, let me tell you, not tell you about this, but, like, he's telling a story to somebody or whatever. But they didn't do that. They took the movie in, it's fine. Let me go ahead and spoil my review. It's fine. It's a whatever movie, especially for a film where they took a pretty decent filmmaker and completely cut him out of it and then recut the movie. Xavier Gens, who did Frontiers the same year, if you like French extreme horror. He did something else too. I can't remember what it is, but that's the dude. He's kind of in the Luc Besson family tree of directors, like Louis Leterrier and stuff. Yeah. Where they just do action movies, and Besson actually was a producer on this.
Oh, he did Under Paris just this year, the shark in the Seine movie.
Yeah. And like you can see a little bit of, like, sort of French filmmaking in it, but overall it's just kind of, it's a film, it's a movie.
And I would describe it as aggressively competent.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I read about how poorly received it was, how bad critics thought it was. Apparently, they criticized it for the ultra-violence in an assassin movie. Okay, that's a really dumb thing to criticize an assassin movie for, especially a French one in this era. Like, were they not watching French horror movies from this time? I don't know. I guess not. Or some of the action movies, whatever. But yeah, basically the plot is Timothy Olyphant, which is kind of a weird casting. He was pretty well reviewed. He's playing Agent 47, and by the way, the plot was criticized as incoherent. Were they just not paying attention? I don't know. It's a very straightforward plot. There is a bad guy who sets up his own assassination, but it's not him. It's clones, and then he's got to track down and kill the guy, the bad guy. That's it. That's the plot. It's not complex at all.
Yeah. I mean, my main problem with it was very kind of boilerplate, very standards. Just pick a few, like, recognizable tropes and stitch them together.
Yeah.
The thing about Timothy Olyphant's performance, obviously, because he's quite, I don't know, I can't tell whether he's bad or not, to be honest, because the kind of character he's playing, he's very wooden, but he's supposed to be kind of cold and detached, and kind of almost like a machine. So is that good that he comes across that way?
So in terms of playing the stoic assassin, I do, it's fine. But he has a Jamie Dornan in 50 Shades of Grey quality to him, or Robert Pattinson in Twilight, where it feels like he's a British guy pretending to be American and just kind of getting through it. I don't think it's like an astounding performance. But yeah, kind of what happens is he shoots the guy, and then Doug Ray, God, what is his name? Doug Ray Scott.
Doug Ray Scott.
Yeah, he's playing the Interpol detective, which for an international police organization, why are they always British in movies? Why aren't there ever like French ones or German ones?
In Muppets Most Wanted, the Interpol agent is French.
Okay, there we go.
I'd want to see like an Interpol agent from like Madagascar or something like that.
I feel like Interpol gets confused with like MI6 or whatever.
Well, yeah, because it's him obviously who's Scottish, and then his partner's like a Cockney, basically. So
yeah. Kieran, what were you saying about international police?
I was going to say, I want them from somewhere absolutely like that you would not expect. Yeah, I'm from Cape Verde, you know. Like, yeah. Then again, to be honest, I think if you're going internationally, somebody from Britain is quite likely to travel abroad. Where you know you need somebody that can, you know, go to almost anywhere and not be kind of sticking out. I guess if you have somebody randomly from, you know, Taiwan or Cape Verde or Venezuela, they're more likely to kind of stick out than somebody that's British. That would be my reasoning.
Well,
if I was in charge of an international secret agent organization.
What's kind of interesting about the beginning of this movie? It starts with the framework, like not story. It's not a frame story. It's just the beginning and end, where he walks up to Doug Ray Scott and he's like. He's in his house in London, and he says, are you good? How do good men know when to kill? And then it shows his backstory, which is made up of film from a TV series that Fox produced about children trained in an assassin organization. So they just took that footage and put it in the credits with a couple of shots of like him getting the back of his head tattooed, but one of the shots, they CGI'd the barcode over a kid's neck. But you can tell when it's the TV series because they have hair. They just have like military haircuts. It's amazing. But so it kind of opens on him in Niger, showing how competent of an assassin he is. He put a bomb down a dude's throat, stitched up the guy's throat, so he has this creepy, raspy voice. And like, I think it's a really good scene. He blows up a bunch of terrorists, and then it's Doug Ray Scott and his partner talking to the Nigerian. Is that what they called him? I don't know. The police of Niger, and they're like, look, you may think we're a backwater hellhole, but we actually have very competent police here, despite your stereotypes. And I was like, oh wow, that's a really kind of interesting, just little thing that they threw into this movie. Like they're not just treating these people as the stupid idiots in Africa. They're like, sort of, they have pride in their ability as policemen. But yeah, that's just to show his competence, ability, and obviously in there it brings in his ability to use creative kills, which that's part of the game.
Also, very quickly to answer your question, a quick Google search has told me that somebody from Niger is Nigerian, somebody from Nigeria is Nigerian. So it's the E versus the A, apparently.
You say it Frenchly instead of Englishly.
I don't know. Well, it's either that or Niger. So Nigerian as opposed to Nigerian, apparently.
There you go. Man, that's got to be really confusing when you're like a French speaker, though, and you're trying to address one or both. Yep. So then the rest of the movie takes place in Russia. For some reason, the Russians have a president who they think is a good guy, or at least like he's a populist, but not in sort of like the Trump way as far as he just seems like a good-ish guy, except that he's a bad guy.
Yeah. One thing that kind of baffled me a bit and kind of slightly irritates me after a while, most of this movie takes place in Russia, specifically in St. Petersburg. It tells us every couple of scenes that we're still in St. Petersburg. See, I get one time said we're in St. Petersburg now, but then it goes somewhere else in St. Petersburg. St. Petersburg, near the airport, St. Petersburg. political district or whatever in St. Petersburg.
Just in case we're confused on where we are, it's still St. Petersburg. Don't worry. Grandma fell asleep when she took her kids to see this.
Yeah, and I can understand it like towards the end of the film where they're driving and like through like the countryside and so, this doesn't look very Russian anymore. And then it comes up Russian border in Turkey. So,
yeah,
okay, that's fine.
I remember that because that's how I found out Russia borders Turkey. I didn't know that because I'm stupid.
Russia's massive. It borders quite a lot.
And so, kind of, like I said, he assassinates the president. Or did he? Because the president has body doubles, which for some reason we find out later have his exact facial features because they put like metal in their face and stretch skin. And that was needless. They don't need to do that. They could just have people that look like him. Yeah, I mean, so Hitman-y stuff that he does, shoots a guy with a sniper rifle. That's in the game. There are actually sniper rifle specific missions in the new one. So yeah, Hitman stuff. He has to go find the lady who he thinks saw him and turns out to be the girlfriend of the president. When he goes to see her, he pretends to be a flower delivery man, and that is something that comes up throughout the game. Let's see. He puts, towards the end, he's going to kill a bad guy. He has an explosive rubber ducky. That is in the games. He changes outfits into, like, I don't know, a train guy or something.
That was my favourite action scene on the train, where it's him versus the other bad hitman. And it's like, we know what we're going to do here. Guns won't do. We're going to do this the honourable way. And they all pull these blades out of the bottom of their shirts. Like,
well, it's funny you say that, Sam. That was my absolute least favorite part. Just because it's contrived. Like, why would you agree to that? But then also it turns out that was a scene that was reshot after the director had left the film. It had originally been a one-on-one with the guy who tries to snipe him earlier, who doesn't really play into the plot at all. Like, you could really tell where they changed stuff in regards to that one other assassin character. But yeah, he fights and kills those guys with swords, and he hangs a dude from like the train track. And yeah, I mean, it's well choreographed. Like, I'll give them that. That part of it's fine. But there is a lot of weird cut action in this movie too.
Yeah. I mean, that's a thing, obviously a trope that's lent into quite a lot. Usually if you see an assassin in a film or a game, there's some kind of honourable assassin. They've got a code. They do things a particular way at all times, and stick to the rules.
But what's weird?
An Assassin's Creed, you might say.
But what's weird is he obviously doesn't have a code. Like, he breaks rules and does whatever he wants on the way through this, but basically, like, he's just trying to get close to the president to kill him again, and along the way he's pretending to be another guy, which, God, that is a fun part of the game, when you kill somebody and then go to a meeting in their place and pretend to be that guy.
The thing where he's speaking to his kind of his mission giver, and kind of and they changed the parameters of the mission and stuff like that, and it's going back and forth, and like both the voice and modulates and stuff. Is that something in the game? Do like the parameters of the missions like change midway through sometimes? And can you accept them or reject them?
No, they're set at the beginning, and then like in the new games, which have nothing to do with this, you'll have new versions of the mission where like you need to kill them with a shotgun or whatever. But again, that's the new game, so nothing to do with this. Diana, his handler, is actually a person in the games, and this she's just a disembodied voice. She seems like Siri, except that she calls him on the phone at one point. And he keeps at the hotel he's staying in, he keeps his guns in the icebox, which that's another game thing. You'll have weapons stored throughout the level that you can go retrieve.
Yeah. I quite liked his kind of John McClane kind of thing in that sequence, which just when he knows that they're coming for him, he just grabs his guns and dives out the window barefoot.
Yeah, that is fun, and it has it rigged to explode. Swings down into a room where kids are playing Hitman.
I didn't pick up on that.
Oh yeah, they're playing. I forget which one. I think 2, but one person I do like. There's an FSB agent played by Robert Nepper. I like his performance. He's good as kind of the slimy, evil FSB guy, and he's who gets put into a saw trap really far into the film and gets blown up with the rubber ducky. I do like that sequence in the church where, so basically he's threatened with, you're going to die if you don't order the assassination of the president to your assassin. And so finally he's like, okay, kill the president. And he's behind bulletproof glass, so that fails. He blows up. And then there's the big final action scene where, he basically, Hitman has to make the decision. Do I kill the target or do I not kill the target? And I do think it's kind of dumb that his driving force in this is, I need to complete the mission. Well, I mean, as far as you know, you did complete the mission. You were told to shoot him at that time. Whatever, move on.
Yeah. Olga Kurylenko sadly doesn't have a lot to do. This is like pre Bonds, but still essentially playing a Bond girl.
Yeah, and she's also the girl with the dragon tattoo because she's abused and has a dragon tattoo on her face. I can't remember if those books were out yet, but
yes, they were.
Okay, thank you. She basically just she could be not in the movie and it wouldn't matter. But the fun part is where she tries to have sex with him and he knocks her out because that's not a thing that 47 does. Oh, Kieran is pulling out a tome. Let's see.
Yes. Checking the dates.
First one was 2005.
Nice.
So that was Girl with Dragon Tattoo. And then the second 2 were kind of put on the editor's desk. And then he died, essentially, before they published second and third. But let me just check Hornet's Nest. Got a feeling it was like 2008, 2009. 2007, so 5, 6, 7. So technically...
So same year as this, then,
Yeah, so the first 2 would have been out. Realistically, and then third one.
Yeah, maybe it's a very deep cut reference from somebody that likes that book, but because the timeline adds up. Yeah. I think
it is actually, they are very good books.
My biggest issue with this is that we have the frame sort of set up at the beginning, and then it goes back to it at the end where he's like, so tell me, Doug Ray Scott, how do you decide to kill a man when you're a good man? And he's like, I don't know, good guy answer. He's like, great, so here's that assassin that was in the movie that was chasing me but isn't really a character in the movie. You're gonna say that's me and that you shot him with this gun, and I'm gonna leave. And because I've been primed by other movies, when there is a beginning of the movie setup and then you go back to it at the end, there's going to kind of be story that continues on from there. But no, he just walks away. So he sat there and had a 2-minute conversation that led to, yes, you're going to say this is your ghost, and I'm going to leave and be alive. Bye-bye. Yeah, so it's just kind of a unsatisfying ending, I would say, because the climax of the film is an awesome scene, but I wasn't expecting it to be the climax. I was expecting it to be like the big set piece that will eventually lead to the smaller scale big set piece fight, whatever. But no, the movie just kind of ends. Yeah, it's awkward.
I think just in the moment you're watching it, I always think, it all looks perfectly fine. There's some decent visuals to it. It's many, but nothing's really kind of sticking with me. It's even now I finished watching it about an hour and a half ago, and even now I'm struggling to remember the order of events and who was trying to do what and why. It's just doesn't really connect. I don't think. Maybe that's the issue. Maybe it's all a bit cold, a bit. Yeah, just not human enough. You don't care about anyone particularly.
Oh,
it sounds as my dad would say, perfectly average.
Yeah,
it really is, and like that. It's reviewed like this is just a steaming pile of dog poo, but it's not. It's fine. Like this is just. It's like that movie Shooter in a way. Like it's an action movie about a very competent assassin who's being hunted.
It is a film that exists.
Yeah. I mean, they would go on to obviously reboot the film and try again about 10 years later. I've not seen that version. Apparently, that's even worse.
Yeah, so what I did was I looked into the Hitman subreddit to see what fans thought of it, because when you look at like what do movie fans say, they're like, "Oh, this movie sucks," but like it's not that bad. The Hitman fans like this movie. They think that it did a good job of like putting elements of the game into a film that is full of violence and where Timothy Oliphant is inoffensive and embodies what the character is. It's the character's just kind of boring, but he does bring like some sentimentality and stuff to him. I guess that could be seen as a positive, or it could be seen as a detraction, because 47 doesn't really do that. And then also, I was really happy to learn this. The philosopher Slavoj Zizek, I don't know how to say his first name, so sorry, Serbian people. He put it in his top 10 films of the year because it was all schlock and what's the word? Like guilty pleasure movies is how he described his top 10. So he was like, this is great. But I do wish that it had a bit more like Frenchness to it. I'm thinking about like there's a scene where they're sitting in the car and there's like rain going behind them that makes for a I think
a cigarette at any point. That's how to make it more French.
Yeah. It feels like there's an impressionistic quality to some of it. There are like the flashback scenes to brutal torture that the girl character, that's basically what she is. She is the woman that she underwent, but like not enough to be exploitative. I'm sure stuff got cut from that. Put a little bit more of the ultra violence in there. There is a big shootout scene with the president's brother who looks like Al Pacino in Serpico. It's just without the hat. But yeah, big, just massive shootout scene. That's pretty fun. I mean, I don't have a ton of bad things to say about this movie for how poorly it was reviewed, and going through trying to see what people said. Like I read this Time article, top 10 worst video game movies, and they just say like, oh, it's just sarcastic. It's like, oh, what a great idea to make assassins with bald heads with barcodes. That's the game. The movie didn't come up with that. Like, what are you complaining about? There's very little substantive anything to the criticisms other than I thought it was too violent. I don't know. Roger Ebert liked it. When Roger Ebert likes your bad movie, like, is it a bad movie? Or critics just jumping on a trend? One person, like, very specifically called out the director who did not have final cut, so, like, had zero insight into... and who knows when that stuff came out. I would assume in, like, the trades before the movie came out because they had to do reshoots, but, like, yeah. I think critics were a bit harsh on this one, because when you compare it to Super Mario or Street Fighter, it follows the video game and it's a decent movie. So I don't know what the problem is on either front.
Yeah, it just didn't leave an impression with me. I just found it generally a little bit little bit dull and forgettable, but in the moment, I wasn't having a terrible time. It's like I say, it's fine. Just yeah,
It happened.
yeah, it happened.
Yeah, and then looking at the movie on Metacritic, it's a 35. I think you said that earlier. So like,
Yeah.
it's not like most people gave it a 5 out of 10, therefore it's rotten. It like people thought this was bad, and I don't understand that. So I'm really going back to our second cut roots here. This movie's fine, and critics can be stupid sometimes.
Yeah.
What do we know, eh?
Yeah.
You ever done that with a review where you're giving it a score and everybody else is giving it the complete opposite, and you're like, what have I missed here?
No. I'm always right.
You don't review anything.
Yeah, here's Roger Ebert's tagline on Rotten Tomatoes. Hitman stands right on the threshold between video games and art, and on the wrong side of the threshold, but still, give it credit. So, like...
He knew how to pen and open it.
There is, some vague... You can tell that they wanted it to be better than it was, and, they just gave it to some editor, and he made it himself.
I mean, happily, this is like films pretty much midway between the midway point between our three films, and it's reflective of that arc. It's kind of the video game movies gone from the doldrums. It's got steadily better over time to this point where they've just about made it adequate, and then hopefully they'll go on and get a bit more nailed on in the next few years. So Kieran, go talk out actually no holds barred decent.
Well, and by the way, was Detective Pikachu a game before the movie, or okay? I never played the game.
It was a lesser known Pokemon spin-off. Yeah.
Released in 2016, which is probably why you haven't played it.
Yeah, if it's not a mainline game after 2008, I've not played it.
I was going to say, I played the mainline games. I had the kind of early stuff. I think I had the Pokemon Red and Blue Print Studio and stuff like that. Mystery Dungeon was also fun. The first ones, I played the Red Rescue Team an awful lot, but then it's just mainline stuff. So yeah, Pokemon Detective Pikachu. We can't call it Detective Pikachu. That's not the name. It is Pokemon Detective Pikachu. Apparently, is the full one in order to get the franchise in there. Apparently based on this spin-off game. I don't know. I'm just treating it as it's a Pokemon film at this point, because I think that's what most people treat it as. Oh my god, it's a Pokemon thing with Ryan Reynolds as Pikachu, aka it's Deadpool as Pikachu without the swearing. There is no difference. In fact, that was the thing. Everyone was just watching this going, why is Deadpool doing a Pikachu impression? What is going on?
Someone needs to deep fake Tim and Hugh Jackman.
Yeah, like there's just.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure there are dubs out there with Deadpool's lines put into Pikachu's mouth.
You wouldn't have to do that much, to be honest. Yeah, and there is a. I have watched it, but I've forgotten most of the names, so I apologize. So it stars Justice Smith as Tim Goodman, who's an insurance agent apparently, and he's looking for his father, who has been apparently killed, although might be missing, and he bumps into a Pikachu, which he can understand. And this is in a world where they've kind of everyone coexists with Pokemon based on the franchise, obviously the Pokemon franchise. If you don't know what Pokemon is, then realistically you've been living under a rock. Like even like 60-year-olds know of Pokemon at the very least at this point.
They think they're demons, but yeah.
Yeah, this is true. And have done since the games came out and they were about 30, because it's 30 years old next year as Pokemon. That's slightly terrifying.
Hey.
But yeah, and so there is a
I think Sam and I object to that.
Yeah. There's a city called Rhyme City where essentially there are no Pokeballs, there's no Pokemon battles, and Pokemon live side by side. And this is where Tim's father, Harry Goodman, worked as a detective, and he dies in a car crash. And Tim goes to clear out his stuff, and he meets a Pikachu there, which he can understand, and not, it doesn't just say Pika Pika. It's Ryan Reynolds in in the Pikachu, and it turns out that Pikachu has lost most of his memory except for a Sherlock Holmes hat, a deerstalker with Harry's name in it, the dad who's gone missing, and so they have to team up to try and find out what's happening and why his memories have been lost and all this stuff. And it may have something to do with Mewtwo because, God damn it, it's like, if nothing else, Mewtwo looks like Mewtwo should in this movie. Like, some of the other Pokemon look very dodgy, but Mewtwo doesn't. There's a slight bit with the mouth, but aside from that, it's...
No, you're right. It's some of the Pokemon look just like you'd always hope they would in live action. Some don't quite work, but I remember seeing this first time in the cinema and just the grin on my face when we saw Mewtwo in the lab. And just, oh my god, it's like live action first movie. It's amazing.
Yeah, you know what? Sod it. No, I don't care about this. I want a live action Mewtwo Strikes Back. Like that would just heal everything.
I mean, the second half of this film is basically that, isn't it? Really, it's kind of
realistically, yes.
But I will say
nobody gets turned to stone.
I don't love the furry Pikachu, like, because of the way he's rendered in games where he's just flat. I much prefer that look, and I don't look at Pikachu and go, very individual hairs that you could discern.
I can see why they did it.
Yeah,
because real animals would.
It's supposed to be a rodent, isn't it? It's supposed to be a mouse.
Yeah, I can see why they did it, but I can also know that, like, yeah, there's something not right. But I think you see a Snorlax at the beginning in the middle of the road, obviously blocking traffic. And from a distance, obviously you can't see it very close up, but I think from a distance it's not got the fur on it. But most of the Pokemon have fur of some kind, as they kind of would do in real life.
I was most pleased that my favorite Pokemon gets a nice little scene, Cubone.
Gets a couple of scenes.
Yeah. So it's basically just been a little shit.
And my favorite is Gengar, and there's a few bits of Gengar in there. Although I'm very upset.
Gengar live action doesn't work for me.
No, because they gave it fur. Like, that's just wrong for Gengar. But anyway, there's. I mean, the film has what, like, it's in the 68% kind of thing, which is just slightly better than average, I guess. I'd have put it pretty much slap bang in the middle, at like a 50. Because there's the one thing that I don't. There's stuff that works. There's some fun stuff. Ryan Reynolds for we're going to take the mick out of it's Deadpool as Pikachu does the job and gives the comic relief. Bill Nye is decent in it. He's probably going, what the hell is going on? But he's doing something.
I never thought his voice would work so well for Mewtwo, but it kind of does. It kind of when he adopts his voice, it's pretty cool.
The trouble with Mewtwo is that although Mewtwo is kind of a good guy in realistically most of the stuff that kind of has a darker side, you never hear him with a good guy voice. It needs to have a deep, sinister voice, and somehow Bill Nye manages in parts to do it well.
When you said that, I had to go check if the science guy played a character in this movie. I was very confused.
No. God damn it. And then Ken Watanabe's in it for like 2 scenes. And I'm like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
What are you doing here? But it's just like, for no reason.
Yeah, I think Catherine Newton, her breakout role. I thought she did a good job as well.
Tell you what, though, a lot of it seemed very much like Tim Burton's Batman, but less gothic. You've got the news reporter, you've got the city, you've got the parade, you've got it like the evil kind of like in the tower kind of Bill Nye's lair almost. If only you have kind of Joker walking into it at some point. You've got a cop, like there's parts of it that I'm looking going, this feels like Tim Burton's Batman. And one of the things, I mean, there are parts that work on it and there are parts that are quite fun. One of the things that I don't know is that what audience they were going for. Because a movie like this, you'd go, it's for kids, but it's a live action Pokemon movie in 2019. I can guarantee you 80% of the audience were at least 25,
Yeah.
30 odd.
Yeah, and it was like 150 million budget, made back 450 million, which is good, but not like spectacular, is it? It's
yeah,
kind of,
and it's not. And if it's a kids movie will make at least cross over the 500 mils threshold.
And,
so it's not aimed for kids. But
yeah, and I think if it had made like the late kind of hundreds of millions, or even got close to $1 billion, we would have had a sequel by now, or another Pokemon movie at the very least. It's kind of interesting. There's been no movement there.
And to be honest, I think a lot of it might have been the trailers and how the Pokemon look. Because I think if the Pokemon had looked slightly closer to the game renderings, the anime renderings, and that kind of thing, the sprite renderings, you'd have got people in. Because a lot of it sometimes, for example, like the glimpse of the Ludicolo or the Mr. Mime. Oh my god, the Mr. Mime. Like, Mr. Mime is a creepy Pokemon at the best of times. Always was, always has been in the early Pokemon. Some of the designs are a little bit weird. This thing is just from the pits of hell.
No, I think the creepiest thing is when Ditto takes on human form. the dead dot eyes.
Yeah, you've got that. But then, like, again, the Mr. Mime scene, which is really inventive, where it can kind of make the invisible barriers and does that, and then the main character again, Justice Smith's character, Tim Goodman, kind of plays along with it.
Charades.
Yeah, plays charades with it, and therefore has the power.
Yeah.
I don't know if you could do that the entire thing. Just carry a Mr. Mime with you. You can make an invisible bazooka. But then it gets really dark because they're like interrogating this poor Mr. Mime. And so he picks up an invisible thing of gasoline, pours it all over this Pokemon, shuts the door, and pretends to light a match and light this thing on fire. Like, that is Yu-Gi-Oh! Season 0 dark. Like,
hey, it was pretend.
Yeah, I mean, probably the primary audience, I would argue, is us. Basically, it's people who grew up with the original series in the 90s. You know,
but the thing has to kind of go for it. Has to be a child-friendly film, which means there is a very slight mismatch that you get a little bit of both worlds, but not enough of either, if that makes sense. So I feel there's kind of a competing kind of thing going on in there. Again, some stuff works. I mean, the main plot is kind of how you'd expect this kind of 9,500-minute blockbuster, family-friendly detective plot to go.
Yeah, it's very generic, and the twists come when you expect them, and they pretty much are the twists you're expecting. And there's a bit of a final emotional flourish towards the end.
Now I think about it, and if you've seen it, you'll get it. If not, I won't give away the spoilers for it. But how similar is the plot of this to something like Zootopia?
Yeah.
Is it Zootopia, Zootropolis? Whichever one it was.
It was Zootropolis over here, which sucks because that's not a pun. Zootopia kind of... That was the
it was called Zootropolis over there?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I don't know why.
I don't know. Why was it called Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone over there to you?
There's probably a business off a motorway like a safari park or something in the UK that's probably called Zootopia, and they probably didn't want to infringe on its copyright. Something ridiculous.
Americans are stupid. We don't know what a philosopher is. Like, why didn't they just call it Zootropolis?
It's actually true. That's why they named it Golden Compass instead of Northern Lights. Anyway, so the plot is generic. There's some fun sequences again that remind me very much.
Hang on, are we gonna say that a human and Pokemon fusing consciousness is generic?
It's not unheard of, kind of thing. It's
basically it's like My Dad's Turned Into a Dog movie, except it's My Dad's Turned Into a Pikachu movie.
That's fair. But usually, like, the shaggy dog, he knows that he's a dog. Like, there's an awareness of it. I don't know. Like, I wouldn't...
I was going to say if that's a Mystery Dungeon reference where you get turned into a Pokemon, but you know that you're a Pokemon a human right at the start.
But, like, with this movie, it's... The Pikachu thinks he's a human is... I would never call that generic. That's just weird.
No, in terms of kind of the beats and where you go, and we've got to go out to this place, and this happens. Oh, there's a chase scene here. Oh, there's a bit here. Oh, we have to separate, and now we come back together. Those kinds of the beats are familiar.
The bad guy revealing themselves, and curse your sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yeah, it's not massively out there, but at the same time, it's not massively offensive. Most Pokemon fans are going to mostly have fun going, oh my god, there's that one. Oh my god, it's that one. Oh, cool, it's that one. And going, why wasn't this one in it?
And we get a big Pokemon
weebs.
battle. We get a big Pokemon battle in the arena, which any fans of the anime series have wanted to see in live action for forever. You get Blastoise, you get Charizard there.
Yeah, with the Pikachu thrown in. So you get little bits. It's kind of inoffensive. I don't know who it was aimed for, but it made the money. It's not awful, but at the same time, it is a thing that existed.
Yeah, it's perfectly solid. I think we've worked our way up from bad
abominations.
But bad and fundamentally just a bad concept from the off. Okay, but still didn't really know what they were going for. We totally knew what we were going for. We've done something decent, but there's still plenty of room for improvement. And as I said earlier on, largely those improvements have come on the small screen. Give these stories a bit more time and chance for the characters to grow, and does some wonders.
Yeah, and I'm still calling if there is a Detective Pikachu 2 Weather Trio, Rayquaza. You know what you need. We'll throw in a final boss where it's like proper mystery dungeon style where you have to get Rayquaza to stop the meteor, but it's Deoxys in there, and so we throw all the Gen 3 stuff in. Gen 3 is my babe. But yeah, so Detective Pikachu's it's decent.
I wonder what it says that all three of these movies were profitable. Like, is it that video game fans are then driven to the theater? Is it that?
But then you have Borderlands this year, and it's done terribly.
Actually, I did see a thing. I'm not sure if it came out today or yesterday in the last 1 or 2 days that Uwe Boll has come out going, "Don't you wish I directed this?" Like, no, nobody wished that.
I'm shocked Eli Roth didn't use like Alan Smithy on the movie. Why does he want his name associated with it?
Because he's gone, it's a massive franchise. It should do well.
Apparently, he wasn't because they obviously shot the bulk of it during COVID, but he wasn't available to do the reshoots because by then he was already working on the Thanksgiving sequel.
There is a sequel. Yes.
Yeah. So
back to horror with you.
They got Tim Miller of Deadpool fame back to do the reshoots for Borderlands. So maybe those didn't go so well.
Here's the stupid thing. Like Eli Roth generally is better when he stays in horror. Like he knows what he's doing there. Stay there. You're doing well, mate. So yeah. Borderlands. I don't know why it's doing badly. Maybe just nobody cares. And in the nicest,
nobody cares,
way,
and we know it sucks. So
and you've opened up around Deadpool versus Wolverine, like Inside Out 2 is still kicking around. What's the Blake Lively one that's there?
It ends with us. Which there's tons of the book talk people that are going to go watch that instead of Borderlands.
Yeah, like to be fair, you've got stiff competition at the moment.
Well, and I think another issue with Borderlands is like, when did the last game come out? Like 10 years ago? I'm looking to see.
Tell me.
Borderlands 3, when was that?
I don't know. But hang on. I'm on the game itself instead of the series.
Borderlands 3 was 2019, so that was the last mainline entry in the game, I think.
Okay, so more recently than I thought.
Yeah.
That's it. Didn't they have a Telltale game? Or am I thinking of something else?
Yes, I think you're right. Yeah, there were Telltale.
Yeah, new Tales from the Borderlands.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so more relevant than I thought.
Yeah, it is currently Borderlands is currently sat at number 74 on this year's list, ahead of The Chosen Season 4 episodes 1 to 3 and Late Night with the Devil, and behind Clex Academy and Twilight of the Warriors Walled In. And I'm going to guess that Twilight of the Warriors Walled In had a very limited release in the US. Clex Academy didn't have any release in the US.
Yeah, did Late Night with the Devil have a release? Like
it did in a very few number of cinemas.
that is insane that made
Yeah,
almost as much as Borderlands.
I think I watched that on Shudder. But,
Same here, yeah. So who knows? And who knows what the future of video game movies will hold? But I'm sure that when it does,
More cash-ins.
Yep. Money.
Shameless cash grabs in the worst way you could imagine.
Yes. Money or lack thereof if you are Borderlands.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for this version of video game movies. I mean, we may do more. There's plenty of them. We could do a whole one on Yule Ball. So
we'll do the animated versions as well.
No, I think next time we do a bad movie, kind of bad movie night, we should just do a UA Ball special.
Oh God, I don't know if I want to be strapped down to that. I prefer my freedom. But yeah, there will be more from us next week. But until then, guys, where can people find you?
You can find me at SSP Thinks Film and at the Film Magazine. Where what have I done? Tell me what I've done recently. My mind's gone blank. Deadpool Wolverine reviews in text and video form still up there.
You'll have probably updated some rankings of superhero movie lists.
Yes, did those. Did the Iron Giant anniversary.
Yes, you did.
And I will have something Life of Brian related out over the weekend. So check that out when that appears.
And hopefully you don't find me anywhere. If you do, I'm Judgmental to various places. I am going to go see Alien Romulus tomorrow because Alien, obviously. And the last few days, I've got up something I've been working on for a few months, which was a complete ranking of all 53 Alfred Hitchcock movies. I'm finally glad to actually have to sit down for something and go, I don't have to watch a Hitchcock movie as much as I love Hitch. There was a point where you'd look and it's like 30 to go. Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite a thing, you know, if you go and read through it. I mean, I basically say I haven't heard of them all. You know, a lot of like is like 20s into early 30s ones. It's like nope, never heard of that one. That sounds interesting.
Quite a few of them blur together. To be honest, if you've given me What Happened in Sabotage or Saboteur or Foreign Correspondent or Lady Van, some of them are like exactly the same in my head. It's very interesting, and who knows what will be number one. So go check that one out.
And you can find me at Jacob Film Guy. I did the video version of Sam's review.
He hasn't written anything, but it is something new.
Yes. And now, you know this guy, Joseph Wade? Yeah? Well, this whole website's a trap. To get you to go read his review of Trap, you can read that on our website right now. And also, George wrote 10 best live action superhero suits, so you can check that out if you're into that.
I did see that. And slightly controversial pick for number one, I would say. It's not what I would have expected.
It should be up there, but yeah, I'm not sure I'd personally have it as my number one.
Yeah, fuck you, George. And then
when he comes on next, that's all we're gonna hear.
Also, Margaret reviewed It Ends With Us, starring Blake Lively, the husband and wife head-to-head at the box office. Went pretty well for both of them.
I did see that the last time that a husband and wife got 1 and 2 at the box office was in like 1990 with Ghost and whatever it was that Swayze was dating at the time.
Yeah. Now, minor spoiler alert. She does cameo in Deadpool Wolverine. Does he cameo in her film too? Do we know? Is he in the background anyway?
I'm gonna guess no. but I have no factual knowledge on that. Also, I just looked up. I spoiled the number one for myself, and I just, it is what it is. I don't have feelings on superhero suits in movies to begin with, so that's why I didn't write that article.
And it's only
see.
live action as well, because otherwise I would be very upset that Incredibles isn't there.
Yeah, or Lego Batman suit. So you can follow us at Second Cut Pod or Second Cut Podcast somewhere, I think. I forget where that is. And you can email us at secondcutpod@gmail.com if you are desperate to speak to us. Let's see. Is that it? Redbubble.
Buy the
down
merch.
there. Yeah. Give us money. PayPal.
T-shirts like this. Hitchcock reference.
I think we will have to record like a generic advert and play it in the middle of the show in future.
And then I guess like, comment, subscribe. That helps us out. Lets us know if you liked this or didn't like it. You can dislike it too, I guess. It all factors into the algorithm.
If you really want to hurt our feelings.
If you think Street Fighter is the greatest video game movie of all time, you can try and convince us. Not
or
sure
if you think,
succeed, but...
or if you think the Electra suit is the best one, like George. So that is it. Thank you for listening, and
Adios.
goodbye.